D.Va players who've been playing D.Va for like 2.5 years now. Lucio players had to play Lucio for eternity. Back when Lucio was also the most boring character in the game by far. He was just Aurabot Lucio before they added all of his changes that made him a lot more interactive and interesting to play. So I just won't hear it.
I feel like there's a personal stake in this from you playing Lucio.
I do have a personal
time.
stake, but it's also just an objective truth. It's literally just an objective truth.
Well, speaking of truths here, we are getting into the offense from Underwater, and they're running with the Ana this time, but still the Sombra coming into play.
The Sombra now, I think, is going to be a much better usage here for Gaia. There's so much more room, so many more flanks for Derek to utilize. And also, I think the geometry of the maps really allow for Derek to get much stronger EMPs. But they're also running this Ana, which is a really interesting pick because they have to be trying to hack the D.Va or get values out of these nades, because otherwise they're going to lose the frontline presence. I suppose is it.
Well, for now, Gig, under a little bit of pressure, gonna get hacked from the back line, but as they were going in, they just isolate Kevin, they take him out. CC on a 6v5 right now, and despite all the pressure on the Gig, he's still totally fine, and they're gonna get repelled back. Only upside, 50% too deep.
A little too deep for Kevin there. I think they were trying to follow up on that hack that they had on a Gig, but hacking a Reinhardt when you don't have any cooldowns necessarily that you can get onto him or any ults that you can set up like a Shatter doesn't mean an insta-fight win when you're not having that Discord orb, because this orb just gives you so much frontline presence.
One good thing for the offense, they're gonna have a nano boost up here in just a moment, and you look towards Underwater, where he's gonna throw on up, Bionade, gonna get in, they isolate him, they just go, hey, there's the Ana at the corner, delete it, immediately dealing with the Ana, and just dissecting Underwater on this attack, and Icy gonna dive into some icy waters, to say the least.
I really appreciate this style of GOATs, this 3-3 setup, how aggressive that Chicken Contendies is being. They're recognizing that they still have this frontline advantage, and that panics on Ana, which just means even less damage you have to worry about. You don't have to worry about that trance either, that defensive ult, and you can just run into Underwater Squad. You can just run into them at all areas. The grab so early in the choke too, and there it is. There's no defensive ult. There's no defensive ult, ZP.
They were just setting up, going, okay, guys, let's set up, and Harm just turns the corner, drops the grab, and says, hello, fine people, and that was it. So high aggression coming in from Chicken Contendies, 2 minutes burned off the clock.
There's nothing for them to fear there for that grab either. There's no D.Va to eat the grab. There wasn't any chance for them to negate the damage, and they recognized that Reptile, there was no way he was going to have beat yet. So really good use of the advantage for Chicken Contendies' composition, and now they're in trouble because that EMP is up for Derek.
Yeah, this is all up to Derek here, where this should be a fight that Underwater has the advantage in, but they have to set up. This is one case where being on the high ground is pretty good for the defense, where Underwater, they're going to try and put pressure onto the point, wait from the drop down, go for the EMP. They do just that, but the Transcendence came out first.
So Suppose saw it again, ZP. He saw it again.
Well, the weird thing there is that Derek might have been able to hold on to it. It was about at the same time, but instead, EMP doesn't get much. Grab now can be invested by Icy. They're looking for the fall through. Answered, though, by the barrier of the defense. And Chicken Contendies just winning the ult game so severely.
And the support ult bunny hopping is just so strong for them. They used the trance to perfectly counter the EMP. And then as soon as the grab came out along with the nano, the beat was up for Zolik. So there's nothing they could really do because remember, they don't have a combo for grabs. Underwater Squad does not have a combo for these grabs of Icy. They're running the Sombra instead of the D.Va, and now Icy's going to be making the swap to D.Va instead of that Zarya. So it looks like potentially Underwater Squad is going to look to be even more aggressive than they already have been. Oh no, they're just going. They're just going.
I mean, if Harp hasn't noticed this, this grab could be getting thrown into the abyss. Okay.
Well, yeah, he should know. He should definitely know now.
Well, it is still going to be up to Harp here, holding on to the grab. They might not really realize that's built up. No longer an easy mode grab to be had. Waiting for it, hiding around. Barrier used in early by the offense. Grab, though, going to connect. Pulls in 4. Tanner's looking for a fall through. Gig was there.
Oh, Gig just did so much. As the microphone goes down, the shatter's so big, it take out ZP's microphone, and that was all on Gig. That was actually all on Gig. He made sure that he did not get shattered. He was able to pin the grab. Reinhardt is one of your primary damage dealers for those grabs, and then he dropped the counter shatter, not shower, and cleaned up. So that was a really big shatter, ZP, as you felt it in your room, your microphone just toppling off your desk, huh?
The microphone just went away, but you're saying counter shower and then cleaning up. I mean, I don't know. You're still on this like continual theme of cleaning there, so maybe shower was the right word to say. But that was just a good, solid defense coming in from Chicken Contendies, clinical, and just a good way of dealing with the EMP as well, where you have to give credit to anyone. It's Suppose, right? Where Suppose was reading the situation, came in with the Transcendence at the right time, and that's basically any Sombra's nightmare.
That is also, I think, a little bit of a mistake on Derek's part as well. He's being too telegraphed with his EMPs. And especially when you know that trance is going to be up essentially almost every fight, because that is just how fast you're building trances when in these tank heavy metas, and this goes good. And especially when you're just Zen and you don't have anything to fear now, he should be looking for ways to mind game Suppose. Maybe get the trance out early, or even just look for a setup to where Suppose is expecting it. Like throwing, we've seen Buds do it previously actually, where he's been playing now with that new Skyfox roster, where he throws Translocator one way and EMPs another. And I think Derek is just approaching it in a much too straightforward fashion. And Suppose is always, since it seems like he is alive and his neurons are firing, he was always going to be able to pretty much just outspeed the EMP because of the fact that you have to come out of that invisibility.
It's just
And
good
are
sauce.
you gone? Oh no, I thought you were gone for a minute. I thought you disconnected from call.
No, I muted my microphone briefly so people wouldn't have to hear the incredibly soothing noises of me blowing my nose.
That's very soothing noise. I had to listen to that all through the studio for NA Contenders.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think you can even go to sleep right now without hearing it. That's how accustomed you became to it. But
It's like a white noise.
clearly, it's gonna be Chicken Contendies. All they need is 33% on point A to give themselves a strong edge here in the series, and they're just going straight for it. There is no Sombra on the defense, so it's a little bit more straightforward 3-3 versus 3-3, but this is Chicken Contendies' bread and butter. They're moving forward. They're winning the shield battle. They get Baboon down early, and this could be over before it even begins.
And look at Kevin. He's isolated here too. Will they be able to pick him up? Gig's on him. He should be able to pick up this frag. He's so hurt. They catch Gig though, so this is actually equalized for Underwater Squad, but I think this should be the end.
I mean, the problem there is that it's equalized, but guess who has a spawn advantage? It's Volskaya. The run back from point B, pretty significant, and it's going to be Chicken Contendies taking the fight and taking the map.
That will be that, ZP, and realistically, if Underwater Squad just would try, you don't have to run the Sombra. I've seen compositions with the Pharah, with the Hanzo, that double spam comp actually be very effective against the GOAT setup here for first, because you just are able to abuse the high ground and that Diva nerfs, which gives him so much. This is Gig, by the way, just actually owning in this fight. That shatter so big, that's where it drops your microphone. You can sort of hear it just fall to the desk, like right there.
Yeah.
Drops your microphone. But that was Sombra just not getting the effectiveness you need, and when they could actually be flexible, run other compositions, maybe even use Pharah, but they're just deciding to run the Sombra all the time.
Yeah, and I mean, here's the other problem with this too, is the entire idea is that, you know, we talked a little bit about it, where teams like running what they're good at, right? And when you've clearly spent as much time running the Sombra variation that Underwater has, and then you realize, wait, it's not working, we now need to play in the more standard 3-3 playground, and the other team has been spending all their time working on that in particular, it does put you at a bit of a disadvantage.
It does, because it's just, you have to be getting value of your Sombra. Realistically, when you're dropping that frontline presence, when you're allowing your win condition to be focused around that one hero, I see you're all laughing at Harb's comment in game chat. He has a very high average energy. He has a very high average energy is what he's bragging about in game chat right now. You guys can't see that, but in very
Cool Matt is sending
fashion.
him a lawsuit immediately, is all I'm getting off of that from Cool Matt LLC.
It's always nice to see some casual, a little bit of casual banter between teams. And that means that Chicken Contendies has now also run ahead in the match score. They are 2-1 now. So and we're gonna be moving on to, believe we just did Assault, so we're going to Escort. I think is our next map type.
And we are indeed going to be heading the Escort, where of course for Chicken Contendies, all they need is one more map, and they'll add this one to the win column. Underwater would like to force yet another map 5, where again, been seeing a lot of map 5s, close games across the board, and it's also something you tend to see more when the meta has been shaken up a bit, because it takes a while for teams to truly get excellent when things have changed a bit more. And look, one good thing that we've really seen in the last few weeks of gameplay is that, have the changes gotten rid of 3-3 entirely? No, but arguably we've gotten something even better, where we just see more variety, period, which actually includes a little bit of 3-3.
I do like where now, we had talked about this previously, but Reinforce had made comments about how he wants map bans to be much more, or maps to be much more important to how compositions are picked. They sure work as soft hero bans. And I agree with him, but except for the fact that like map design generally has not, and the meta design generally hasn't really favored that style. But we have been seeing how map geometry after these Diva nerfs and these armor changes for Brigitte have actually definitely allowed for more flexibility when possible, and you can just change it depending on the point. Now, GOAT is still predominantly the safest comp to run, because it offers the most value per essentially per mistake that you do, and I think that's a really important measurement for how you see how strong competitions are, is like how many mistakes can you make relatively to other comps and still win a map. and Goats has a lot more cushion than running per se like a that triple or quad DPS or even just the 2-2-2, because you just have a lot of ability to come back from the mistake or have a utility. And I think we're just getting ready in the lobby now. We're dropping the Rs. Let's see.
We're dropping the Rialto.
The Rialtos,
more specific.
Rialtos.
Like the biggest star of all right now. Where, by the way, it is worth noting. I'm just gonna like self-roast a little bit here. One of the most glorious moments where I was totally justified. Thinking back to World Cup earlier in the year, Rialto was a map that a lot of teams played, and it was kind of a wild card map. I asked every single team in the Thailand group stage about Rialto. And by the end, I tell you, Achilles was looking at me being like, yep, here's where ZP is going to ask about Rialto. But Rialto, it's a fun map. It's a map that, for whatever reason, and maybe you can elaborate a little bit more, Vest, your personal theory, it generally makes for close games. It just does.
Well, Rialto is what I like to call a map that is, for lack of a better word, it is silly. It's dense. It's there's a lot of stuff going on both geometry-wise and flank-wise, so it allows for not just flexibility in terms of how you push a point or what composition you decide to use, but because of all, and most importantly of all, and this is a gripe I've had forever. I made a video about this like literally ages ago, but environmental hazards in maps, and Rialto has a lot of them. Rialto has a lot of environmental hazards because it has that very Venetian design where the canals run up into the city, and you can get booped at every opportunity. Along with a lot of these choke points, these very crucial choke points have environmental hazards, and sometimes it makes you want to have like an aneurysm. You just want to like thrash about and just be like, why on earth?
How do you think Reptile feels about it, though, given what we saw him do
I think
earlier in the
Reptile
set?
is very happy about this. And look at Chicken Contendies. They're on the left side of the spawn, ready to fight very early, maybe trying to catch anyone out from Underwater Squad, but no, it looks like they're not going to get any frags.
It's the old school Finland aggression right now, where you just go straight up to the front, take the battle to them, but losing Brigida early, not usually part and parcel of the package. So now you're down one, you're going, oh, there's no way out. They've actually isolated us and taken away all our ways of escaping. Gig's going to charge away, but not really anywhere he can go here. He's going to fall, and all you've done here, not only have you not delayed Underwater Squad, you have fed them. You have given them Thanksgiving in February, is what you
Derek already has 80% on the EMP, so a really good fight for Underwater Squad, actually. He's going to have EMP for the next fight, but they did technically delay them, ZP. They had a very early fight, much earlier than you would expect. So now, for this upcoming fight, when the Chicken Contendies come back, they're gonna have pretty much 2 fights on this point if they win.
Harb came close to getting picked off there. There was so much poke damage coming in when Contendies were not expecting it. Now Derek, super early EMP, gonna drop it. Nowhere for Chicken Contendies to go. It's too much power early on. It's gonna be another clean sweep. And this might give point 8 to Underwater Squad absolutely effortlessly.
This should be point A, but they should be stacking. If they have 3 people on point, they would have already capped this point. They're running a very risky game. I don't think Contendies can contest anyways. There's just no way. It looks like they're instead going to be trying to take a fight very early. Baboon drops the Shatter, gets salty, and now there's going to clean up again. That's just more EMP charge to Derek. Interesting choices for Contendies instead of to just back up and wait for the next fight. They just committed onto the fight on Bridge.
To be clear, has Chicken Contendies gotten a single elimination here so far?
No, they have. I don't think they. Well, I think they got maybe one in the spawn, but other than that, they haven't had a lot of luck. And Derek's already 70% to another EMP. And this is a map where Sombra's just a lot better. And I think this could be definitely the composition they should be looking to utilize now here, not King's Row.
Well, you take a look here. Derek looking for the hack again early on. Grab going to be used here early by Icy. And again, Underwater. Oh, going to get knocked down. Gig, finding moment, drops the Shatter. Answered, though, by the Transcends on the other side. Derek dropping the EMP midway through the fight. They find Tanner off it. And again, it's just too much power built up for Underwater here. And it has been Chicken Contendies struggling to get up after getting hit with a Haymaker punch to start the game.
They just didn't have the ults necessary at the time for Chicken Contendies to survive that upcoming fight. They invested the trance early, too, because they had gotten grabbed. And so then Tanner Derek drops the EMP after the trance. And that's fine. I think when you're looking to win fights and you have that huge time bank add and the ults have sort of equalized, using a grab to get trance out of the way for your EMP is a perfectly valid play.
Well, grab's going to be used here on both sides. Chicken Contendies looking for a little bit of stability, and they might just get it here. Baboon going to be taken down early. They invest a bit into that, but finally, the bleeding stops. Now the healing can begin.
Now the healing can begin. But the one danger here, if Contendies decides to hold this aggressively, is that Derek can pressure the point. Derek can actually make them turn around, farm that EMP charge, but it looks like they're holding a little bit less aggressively, maybe just having a mid-lane hold where they can rotate. But actually Contendies so aggressive, Kid drops the Shatter after the beat, but he gets stunned, and I don't think he'll be able to follow up.
Well, a counter Shatter coming in! It's even better! The Shatter on the other side, underwater, fighting their way through some serious aggression, working out some issues. Zolik again get dunked into the river and underwater. Now in a great position to get point B.
Well, that is once again, Gig hits a pretty solid Shatter, denying the initial beat, sort of the initial beat value, but he just didn't have that shield up after the stun for Baboon's counter Shatter.
Well, another grab going to be used here, coming in from Icy, and again, just two early pickoffs where this has felt like a game of just non-stop momentum here at Vast, where overall Chicken Contendies' small mistakes have just turned into a gargantuan snowball for underwater.
Contendies are just getting, they're just making very big micro play mistake, very big micro play. That's an interesting contradiction. They're just getting outplayed in terms of their ult economy usage, in terms of how they're taking fights. They did a great job in the previous maps of both Sky and King's Row of abusing the front line, but they're not having that value now. They haven't had a single good fight, and now Gig getting trapped in the forward spawn and picked off late. Even more stagger.
Icy right now is on something like a 21, 22 player kill streak is where he's at. This has been insane.
He's about to drop the tactical nuke.
Yeah, pretty much. We haven't gone full there. They're lucky that's not in the game, that kill streak rewards are not a thing, because this is going from bad to worse right now for the Contendies.
They really need to get value out of this grab because the EMP is still not up for Derek.
Well, Harblu gonna drop the grab. Tanner moving in with the rally. They use it to get Kevin early on. The Transcendence not in time to save it, so Chicken Contendies, one man up, looking to turn the tide of this battle, and they're doing just that. Finally, they push underwater back, but they still have to defend here for 3 minutes as Icy goes for a swim.
Still not bad for Underwater Squad. This is finally a good hold. Finally another good hold. This is probably their second hold for Chicken Contendies. But they just need to they have to worry about, this is an EMP Shatter or an EMP grab coming out. Suppose cannot get caught, but they still have to worry about the second tank ult after the trance runs out. Because once Suppose uses that first ult, if Zolik doesn't have the beat, either the Shatter or the grab get a lot of value.
Well, the key here is that Suppose has to do it again. He's had very good Transcendence in response to EMPs. That's exactly what Contendies needs here. He's going to Transcend early in response to the grab, so that means Derek can wait and drop the EMP right over him. Gonna use the EMP.
Not a great EMP.
It's a bad EMP. It's only on Harb. Harb is still actually in it, so the EMP effectively wasted mid-fight. Now Contendies, they can drop the barrier of their own here. They don't have to worry about the EMP. Doesn't hit Tanner. Tanner, those mid-rally, he's still okay. Underwater, desperately looking for a pickoff, but both teams fighting bit for bit right now. Contendies still pretty healthy. Transcendence invested by the attack. Moving forward, and yet Contendies moving back the other way. Gig looking for it. Harblu gonna fall isolated, taken down by his own secondary fire. And with Gig falling, it is looking like the offense is now slowly but surely starting to grab this one for their own.
That kite from Contendies, recognizing the EMP was coming out after the grab, was so good, but they lost Harb in the post fight. They weren't able to get any value out of the rest of their ults, but Harblu, he has 90% of the grab. Suppose about to have another trance. As long as they can live through Icy's grab, through this next EMP, they have a real chance to recontest.
Well, it's grab versus grab. This would be a great time for Salty to eat it up, but not going to happen. Harblu throws out the grab. It's highly early here. They didn't really have much of a choice, but they lose two immediately. They're not able to follow it up. Suppose in a little bit late at the Transcendence. So that's going to be it. This is going to be Underwater grabbing the point. But in the end, for as dominant as parts of this was, draining the clock down to a minute actually is not that bad.
Yeah, considering how bad initially, how steamrolling the defense was for Chicken Contendies in terms of they're just not having any great fights. Solid to get it to about a minute. But still, that would have been a lot better if they had played their... They had the right idea of how to play it on King's Row, but on Rialto, they just fell apart. They weren't abusing the front line as much as they should have. They just weren't, kiting the ways they should have. So, Contendies just falling apart under Derek Sombra, and I think that this is a map that obviously enables it a lot more, but as long as they apply the basic fundamentals that they were having in the previous maps, they should still be able to take it. So very close still.
I would say it's easy to take a little bit of the wrong impression off of that, where obviously Chicken Contendies did not look great and how that's set up. But if you think about how these things happen, it's just one really bad early fight on Escort. You can be paying for those sins literally for the next 4 to 5 minutes. That's how important getting a good foothold in the economy game is, particularly when you're going up against something like a Sombra, who's basically the master of extending and improving your ultimate economy game. So, I mean, even you think back, if the first fight had gone Chicken Contendies' way, it's likely a very different map.
A very different map, because then they deny Derek getting that early ult charge percentage. They deny just winning the first fight of an EMP. Because the great thing about an EMP is that you drop it, completely deny all the cooldowns that make these tank-heavy compositions good, and then you start farming it again in the middle of that fight. You know, you can start gaining it back very quickly, especially once you get the snowball set up and you're able to, you know, position yourself around the spawns and just poke so much.
So Chicken Contendies is going to have to work their way back in. 1:08 on the other side, the time to beat. And now, you don't see Underwater repeating the same mistake. They're holding a bit further back. They want to give Derek some time.
But, I mean, they can't really hold quite as aggressively because they don't have that extra frontline presence. So they do need to back up and make sure that Derek, not only does he build the EMP, but they'll just lose the frontline battle. They're going to hold on the corner and just hope Derek gets value.
Well, right now, Derek hasn't gotten any value. He got caught early on, had the translocate out with basically nothing built, still only at 30%, and this is a freight train heading at you. You need the Sombra to do something sooner rather than later, and they're just getting bullied. Look at Baboon's shield, almost completely broken. Underwater, they are hitting their S key incredibly hard right now because they don't have the power of the fight. Derek translocates out of the battle now, and this could be a very easy point A for the attack.
The tank line is so low for Underwater Squad. They just don't have any health. They have nothing eating the spam damage. They've lost all their position as well. Baboon down. The trans comes out too late for panic, and this should really be the fight unless Derek hits a miracle EMP.
Suppose the transcends
nope,
zone.
Gig
drops the hammer. Yeah, it's too late. You don't want to drop the EMP now, and a different type of snowball there. Just one where you're so reliant on the Sombra that the hero play, I think it was Zolik who pressured Derek out. That means they got the EMP a lot later than they would have had it, and that's huge.
And that was Contendies. You know, we talked about the fundamentals of these comp differences. It's like Contendies has the better front line. They eat more damage because of that diva. They do more damage because of that diva. And they just bullied the front line so heavily, and they don't have enough heals to keep them alive because they're not eating the spam. There's no diva to negate any of the Zen Orbs, to negate the right clicks of the Zarya or anything. Derek's gonna have the EMP now, so it's really up to him to try to set the pace.
Well, he's going in the back. He drops the EMP. It only hits Zolik. The EMP only hits one. He's still able to isolate Harblue, who was stuck in the middle of the grab, so maybe it's working out. Everyone turns back. Suppose falls into the water. That might have been unassisted. I actually think he might have just walked off the map. But in the end, Underwater going to hold there. Not clean, but it's enough.
Realistically, that was actually the only target that mattered. Now, obviously, you always want a bigger EMP, but Zolik had the beat. And with him being caught in the EMP, he could not beat, he could not keep his team alive. So not the hugest EMP, but effective. You know, that's a very non-flashy type of play.
Baboon gonna drop the hammer early. Barrier used in response. Gig's gone. He's just immediately knocked off. And that is gonna be quite nice here for for the defensive Underwater. They force Chicken Contendies all the way back.
That is the double boop combo. He got hit with the hammer, got hit with the flail. He got hit with a lot of boops. The Gig just flew off the map. They had to invest the Shadow, they had to invest the rally as well, so this is the time for Chicken Contendies to bring it back. They have the rally of their own, they can pressure the front line, they have Diva Bomb as well, they could follow up very aggressively with that rally. It's on them to use them aggressively though.
And Chicken Contendies are going to use the rally, and yeah, they're just going to go straight into this here. They are focusing more on the payload before heavily diving in, but you know, rally armor doesn't last forever. You want to get something out of it now. Grab, going to be used here by Icy, pulls in a few. Derek there falls out of the fight. And this is looking good for defense.
That was a huge EMP. They had committed the Diva Bomb as well, trying to keep pretty much peel Underwater Squad off of that grab. And then Derek just, you know, uncloaks behind. He does nothing personnel kid, and he drops the EMP, gets like a 5, a 6-man. And now Harblue will have his own grab, and this is their winning fight. This is their winning fight. Derek doesn't have EMP. There aren't any support ults. As long as Baboon does not hit a meaty shatter, Contendies
I think
win.
Harb just lets it go now. Doesn't have to worry about getting in. Yeah, he's going to do exactly that. Drops a grab. Now they have to follow through. They move in. Earth Shatter dropped by Baboon, though. Just simply blocked off. Doesn't do much of anything. And Chicken Contendies off the long-range grab. Going to get the fight they want.
The only problem with that fight is that since Suppose is down, he felt pressured to use the trance. They're going to have Zolik's beat. They're going to have Tanner coming up on that rally. but Kevin will have his own rally. Reptile's coming up on his beat, and Icy, most importantly, has grab. So without a trance, beat is good, but you still take a lot of damage.
Well, they're under pressure here. Now I have the Grace positioning. Icy moving in, grab set up, lays it on in, uses it to isolate Harb. Now they're looking for the rest of the barrier from Zolik. It's not in time to save Harb. You're going to see the Shatter come in from Baboon, and that could be enough for Underwater here. They're splitting them up, they're isolating them. Gig's going to fall, and Panic is there on the cleanup.
Oh, that grab was so good for Icy, by the way. The beat keeps everyone alive after Panic goes down to the Shatter, but then the grab keeps them from following up on Panic. Panic stays alive, they're able to clean them up as they're all clumped together. And that was a really, really huge fight for them because they're going to have EMP, they're going to have transfer Underwater Squad. So this is where they hold realistically, CP. This is going to be a tough nut to crack unless they get a great value out of a D.Va Bomb.
And the problem here, too, is that Suppose doesn't have Transcendence. He's not in a great position to deal with Derek's EMP. The only way that this really goes well for Chicken Contendies is if Derek messes up, if Derek gets caught. You see Derek, he's going to go up to the top here, holding on to the EMP. Doesn't like we see Derek gets heavy damage. He has to back out, so that buys a little bit of time, but he goes back in, drops EMP, looking for Suppose. Suppose, though, armor packs on him, and it's a little bit forced.
Oh my God,
nice disengage from the offense. Really nice disengage.
I cannot believe Gig lived. He got double booped again to the Mega Pack. Now Gig's gonna follow in with the charge off the D.Va Bomb. They get Baboon. That's such a huge pick because if Gig gets shattered, this is the fight. He doesn't even
and
need
it
to
is the fight. They're breaking on through. The EMP, of course, didn't do enough. Chicken Contendies, they fight their way back through. They get another minute and a half, 2.5 minutes left for them to get point C, and man, they dealt with that EMP so well.
That was a tragic incident, though, for Underwater Squad. I feel for them because Gig was caught. There was 2 people on him. He was going to get cleaned up, and he got double pooped. He got double pooped away from them to the Mega Pack and survived while being EMP, and then was able to come back.
Everyone's on the sneakiness right now. Drops the grab immediately. Forces out the Transcendence, and they're still looking for the fight. Gig walked in and charges Kevin away for the Transcendence. Great heads-up play off the grab. And Chicken Contendies with renewed vigor here. 1:53 left. They actually could set a quicker time.
This is, I mean, they have both support ults, even a third coming up with Tanner soon. Icy has the grab, but they don't have a lot of follow-up for it.
Not in the least. This is looking real grim right now for Underwater, who has won so far ahead. Zolik builds up the beat and then fight. Can't drop it in time. Suppose could not get to Tanner, so he's down. 5 on 6 here. Earth Shatter coming in for Baboon. They use the takedown Harbin. The momentum's gone. It's out of there.
That was so, they lost Tanner early. There was just so much damage on him while he was so aggressive in the spawn trying to keep them out. And then Harblu posts, and then Harblu just was chasing into the spawn. Harblu was looking to get frags, and he gets shattered by Baboon and caught out. So they were just not, they just were too split. They didn't play with their trance, they didn't play with their support ult. Losing Tanner was one thing, but then them being too aggressive on the right side was another. That was their fight to win ZP, and now this is really good for Underwater Squad. Derek has EMP, Reptile has beat.
And as we've said before, all you need is an EMP. EMP is one of the most uniquely powerful ults in the game, regardless of what they have. Derek, though, gonna have to find the right opportunity. Moving in, drops the EMP, gets plenty, but doesn't get Zolik, who comes in from the outskirts, drops the barrier. Derek gets punished, and that EMP does not work out.
Bomb.
Chicken Contendies are Shatter, bomb combo. Everyone's getting wiped off the face of Rialto right now as Chicken Contendies. Guess what? We're going to extra rounds.
That EMP was a little ambitious as well. The rest of his team was a little far back to follow up on that. They really just were not prepared. He only got 2 people in that. He didn't get salty. Derek didn't get salty, so they were looking to set up the EMP with an anti-nade, because once the D.Va's EMP, they can't eat nades, correct? But they didn't get salty, and Salty ate the nade. They didn't have that follow-up, because now they don't have a Discord Orb. They don't have that extra damage. So they just broke down from there, because it just wasn't, not only not a big enough EMP, but there wasn't enough setup for Underwater Squad.
So now as we go into extra rounds, we're going to be seeing the offense come out once more for Chicken Contendies. The offense of Underwater will have to wait a moment because, of course, Chicken Contendies ended up with a little bit less time. Do you think we're going to see any change-ups whatsoever, or do you think both these teams so far just, they have their bread and butter and they're sticking with it?
I think these teams have their bread and butter, and they're going to be sticking with it. I think that the Sombra play has been working out reasonably enough for Derek to get a lot of value. But they just have to make sure that they're continuing to do the things they did right and minimizing some of the mistakes where they just, really when it comes down to Sombra play, you have to set it up properly. We saw in that last fight, if they're not setting it up properly, if they're not having the right EMP, the team ready to follow up, you won't get the value out of it that you need.
And Sombra, it is the linchpin, right? Like, the main person watch here is Derek, and just seeing, does he get about 25-30% ult charge off the initial engage here? If he gets caught and forced out again and, like, leaves with his tail between his legs at 7%, that means they're probably not going to be able to contest point A very effectively at all.
And that's a really important part for this first fight, because they have to have a good contest. They need to make sure that there's not getting too much cart time for free for Chicken Contendies.
Derek right now on the approach, going to the back line. He's looking for Suppose to the backhand side from the looks of it, but he's waiting a long time to start firing. This is time you could be using the charge up power. Suppose forces him back, only 19%, and he waited a long time.
And now Contendies, recognizing that the translocation's been used, they can just rush forward. They can get all this space. They can just put the frontline presence onto Underwater Squad. Now they control first, and this is really, Derek has to get an EMP much faster. He's only at 53%.
It's really a repeat of what we saw the first time around for Chicken Contendies in their offense. Derek's going to the back line, getting isolated by D.Va, forced back, not going to get the EMP really in the time that he wants, going back again. But meanwhile, at the front line, they're done. They're out of gas. They were fighting a 6v5 the entire time, and you can only do that for so long. Chicken Contendies going to grab point A.
Underwater Squad was trying to follow up with Derek's aggression on the backline. Derek was on that backline. He had made the D.Va turn around. So then the rest of Underwater Squad comes forward to try to, get a pick on the front line while they were turned. But Chicken Contendies just has so much more pressure up there when they have that D.Va eating the damage, putting that shield presence. And this is looking really, really good for them because they have their trance. They're coming up on their beat too. If Derek doesn't
Derek got caught! Harpoon just walks up and just de-invises him, the Sixth Sense on Harblu. Oh,
he has plenty of time to set up again, though. He has plenty of time to set up again here. We have to make sure Suppose does not get caught with the EMP.
Now Derek's looking for the opportunity. Harblu drops a grab on top, gun force out Transcendence on the other side. He still gets Reptile. Derek doesn't feel confident going in. They're down a man. And Underwater, grabbing Derek out of Invis was so big.
That's the point. That is the point right there. They can't contest again. The fight's gone too long. They're losing people staggered. Underwater Squad will not be able to contest second, so it's wholly going to be a third fight. Harb doesn't have the grab. Derek has the EMP. This is Underwater Squad's fight to win. They must win this fight.
And meanwhile, Derek again getting knocked out of it. Viz, we just see, I've been focusing on him because he is the linchpin, and he just continually is getting knocked out in Viz by the game sense of Chicken Contendies, and the Sombra has not done anything here so far. And now he's still supposed to get the EMP off.
Here it comes. They're going to be trying to catch him on the choke. Look at the split for Contendies.
Oh, well, the hack forces the early Transcendence. That was really nice play. Now he's going to wait, drops EMP to the backhand side while Transcendence was still on, but again, it doesn't get Solik. Solik just drops the barrier. The impact to EMP falling, but they don't stay on the point.
That actually could have been a really bad post-fight for Underwater Squad. They used the Shatter. They didn't really get a lot of value out of it. They just forced the Z9 pretty much because they could not touch the cart while shattered. Because they could have actually, particularly Chicken Contendies, could have come back and won that fight because they weren't getting a lot of value. But they forced them to not be able to touch the cart. So now they've stopped it, but they got way too far. I think you would agree with me, ZP. That was way too far of a push for Chicken Contendies.
Well, again, I also just think, given that the Sombra didn't work out well the first time around, and given the nature of overtime, change things up a little bit. Know that you only have to win one fight, and the more you can stall, the better. You can get a solid 3 fights on first if you're aggro from the very beginning, but what did we see there? Because you're running the Sombra, you can't be aggro from the beginning. Your team's just going to get bullied, and they can only last for so long. The only way that would have worked is if Derek was just playing out of his mind and building EMP, but he was getting checked at every point.
I mean, he's just getting countered like you talked about. They're not letting him get the space to just free poke and build the EMPs. So realistically, there are only 2 options from their ZP. If they want to, they can either swap or they can be much more aggressive. They need to be making the space for Derek to get EMP faster, because if you're playing this passive style and you're not building it fast enough already, then maybe you just have to be making sure they can't be checking for you as much. They need to be giving Derek the room to farm EMP, and they're not doing that either. Because when they get closer, they don't have a lot of frontline presence, so it's very tough now. Chicken Contendies is deciding not to actually do the very aggressive hold, which is very interesting because I thought they would.
One would think Chicken Contendies, so I think for them, they saw what happened last time. They want to play it a little bit slower, wait for the opportunity to develop, and then go in, because they set up right. Their front line should be strong enough.
That is true. This corner is very strong for them while Underwater Squad is playing that Sombra. They're just holding the corner. Derek just not building EMP that fast. You can see he's only at 20-something% right now. Oh, he got a lot right there. But this fight's breaking down very well for Chicken Contendies.
The problem with Derek is he's going to need to do that a few more times, and I got news for you. Chicken Contendies, they're about to go in. Everyone's good HP. They're in good positioning. Harblu now was looking like he was going to lead the way. I think they're trying to isolate this to maybe just one fight, but no, they like what they see. They're going for Icy. Icy getting super low, and yet Chicken Contendies, they don't dive in.
Derek's still only at 70% EMP. Both the support ults about to be up for Chicken Contendies. This is a really long fight, and if I'm Chicken Contendies, I'm not going to invest anything. I'm going to keep building ults, and I won't invest anything in this first fight. I will just wait to the next fight.
Well, the scary thing here is that Derek's about to get EMP. Suppose not quite there to transcend it, so there is an opportunity here. EMP hits everyone. Suppose immediately deleted. The revenge of Derek coming in. But here's the problem for them is that a really good EMP means no one on the other team uses anything, which means going to the next fight, Chicken Contendies has a really big advantage and a lot of time.
This is a huge next fight for Chicken Contendies. There's no EMP out on the field, so they could win. Or they could do something that I think is even better. As long as they get a grab out, as long as they get some of these tank ults out, they can just win the next fight after that. They have plenty of time to push, but the grab's out for Icy. Suppose keeps him alive. There's no follow-up. There's no Diva Bomb. Reptile's down.
There comes the hammer. Gig dropping the hammer, looking for the follow-through. Looking for the pin. Forces out the Transcendence from Zen. They're going to be invested here from Chicken Contendies. Grab in from Harblue. Follow-through going to be there. Suppose with the exclamation point at the very end. And it's going to be Chicken Contendies taking Rialto, taking the series.
Suppose getting that 3K along with the great Trance. That's going to be GG's. That's going to be the series. And that, you know, Sombra's DP. Yeah. You know, what about it? You know, not the best. Not the best.
It's great when it works. It's not so great when it doesn't work. Essentially, Overwatch is a team game, but when you run a Sombra comp versus a 3-3 in the way that Underwater Squad was here, you are basically putting and betting your team's hopes and dreams about 70% on the performance of one player. And also a performance that is not always in his control, where I'm not going to sit here and say that Derek was playing terribly or anything like that. I also just think that when you have a very clear one-dimensional path to victory, the other team is going to be looking for that as a priority number one, and they did a great job of neutralizing Derek. So I think one thing is for sure, if you want to be successful as a team in the long term, you cannot only rely on a Sombra-based strategy. You have to have other options, pure and simple.
It is definitely true, because the problem with Sombra is you wait to get EMP, and then you just lose 3 fights in a row. That's like, that's your strategy when you're playing Sombra. Is like, we're going to lose 3 fights, and then we're going to win 1. And that's not a great ratio of fights to losses. You definitely would have been winning a lot more because you don't have any combos available to you. You don't have that Diva. You know, you don't really have anything to get yourself through all those support ults. So you have to be getting a lot more value out of it and a lot different strategy with how you're approaching it than how Underwater Squad is trying to use Derek on Sombra.
Yeah, I mean, in the end, too, is that even if, and there were times that worked out pretty well, even if you have times of success, teams adapt. You are dealing with 6 living, breathing human beings on the other side. Despite what insults might get thrown in your ladder games, it's not bots on the other end. They're not just going to continually get wrecked by the same thing over and over again, particularly when, you know, it's not an all-purpose strategy like the historical setup of 3-3 has been. So just need more options, pure and simple.
You do. You really, and once your main option is countered, you're going to have to take, you know, you're just going to have to maybe anything else than the Sombra, really. That is that's the takeaway from that. But we will be moving to the next match. It's going to be yeah, we're gonna be moving to Paradigm versus Chicken. No, not Chicken. We just watch Chicken Chitters. It's what, Meta Sky Foxes? Not Sky Foxes.
Meta Sky Foxes.
The Meta Sky Foxes.
They've evolved. The Sky Foxes, once 0-20, have now become the meta.
They've won a match. They did it. They not just a match. They won maps. Even more importantly,
it was a double benefit, really. But guys, we are going to take a quick break. When we come back, that match is going to be heading straight at you. Final match of the day.